Hey, what's going on? Season's greetings. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. It is Sunday, the spectacular December 19th, 2021. No hockey to talk about because a whole slew of Leafs games have been postponed because of COVID and this Omicron variant, and the league taking precautions. Mr. Augello, good morning. What say you?
Good morning, Norm. Well, I mean, I I think the mindset of a lot of people was, this is over with. We have to deal with it, but deal with the safety precautions. But the days of canceling or postponing games and missing stuff is over with, and now with this new variant and how easily transmissible it is, it's thrown everything for a loop. Now, all the evidence is not in yet in terms of the severity of it. We've seen reports that the NFL and even the NBA are basically going to say if you're asymptomatic, they're not going to test you because the preventative measures to prevent other players from getting it are not going to work because it's so easily transmissible. And if it doesn't have any detrimental effects to you, like you're not having any symptoms, then why bother sitting out? Now, the NHL hasn't gone as far as that, but there was a doctor on the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast that did say similar things to what's going on in the NFL right now. Now, the story is, though, I mean, this is hit like wildfire. I think Jeff Merrick reported on Hockey Night in Canada yesterday that 66 players have been put in protocol in the last 72 hours. It hadn't hit the Leafs until just the last couple days, and now between coaches and players, I think it's nine players are in COVID protocol. So now the Leafs, their weekend against Vancouver and Seattle has been scrapped, and from the reports are, the non-infected players are already on their way back to Toronto or already back in Toronto, and the ones who are positive, they're arranging transport back to Toronto in some way. But right now, the next game that they're scheduled to play that hasn't been postponed yet is the Thursday, December 23rd, an afternoon game. I think it's the Kids Day game, which is one of the reasons why I think it's going to be postponed. 50% capacity, and it's Kids Day, so I don't think they want to go down that road. That's why I think the next time we'll see the Leafs is right after the Christmas break, and by that time, all the positives should be negative. It's the window is usually 10 days, and that's right around 10 days.
This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. Get at me for your next vehicle. You can reach out to me through community at I am Norman James on Twitter or through our Leafs Convo email, the leafsconvo@gmail.com. This is a shit show right now, Mike. Bringing back a lot of memories from the past year and a bit. But what the league has learned, it can apply to what it's trying to manage right now. And for those who are wondering what it was all worth, well, these are new days, but we have been battle tested, and the hope is that what the league is doing in terms of precautionary measures, as well as every industry right now, will help to stem the tide a little bit so we can continue on with the season. And it coincides, all of this, Mike, importantly, coincides with the fact that I feel like a bag of shit. A good old-fashioned cold, guys, can still knock you on your ass. I've been tested for COVID twice, both negative, thankfully, but I'm positively sick. And, just trying to push through this podcast with Mr. Augello as best I can, but you can feel all of the, the phlegm and the mucus and stuff building up on your chest. And it's just like, hopefully we can get through this. I mean, personally, as a family, before Christmas, and then collectively we can pound through Omicron and get back to some hockey here, if not before the new year, after the new year. Mike, when you said that the games against Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle were scrapped, you meant
postponed.
Temporarily.
Yeah, postponed. They're good. Well, and that, see, here's the issue, because the NHL, for a number of reasons, most importantly for them, revenue, need to play 82 games. These games were postponed to be made up at a later point. And the question is, when is that later point? There is not a gap in the schedule currently other than the 3-week Olympic break, where they can fit in 3 games on a Western Canada and Northwest road swing. So, I personally think that it would be irresponsible for the players to go to Beijing, and that the league, even if the players decide they still want to go, the NHL may have to make up games during the Olympic break with say, for example, the Leafs, the players decide they want to go to the Olympics, and Austin Matthews and Tavares and Riley and 6-7 players from the Leaf roster decide they're going to go. Well, the Leafs are going to have to play those 3 games against Calgary, Vancouver, and Jose without them. They're going to have to make up those games. Now, that's going to suck for the Leafs. That's going to suck for some of the good teams in the league who are going to be sending multiple players, and the teams that are bad are going to have an advantage because they'll be fully stocked. But the NHL really has no choice. And there were some people saying we should just pause right now. Well, okay, this is the problem with the pause. Okay, you're going to have 8 or 9 players, say the 9 players and coaches from the Leafs who are currently in protocol. 27th, they'll be, say all of them are back, okay, and they'll have immunity because of the antibodies, and they'll be fine. But that does not mean that the players who were negative, who could get positive, won't get positive.
And then what do you do then?
And then, what are you going to do? Pause again? What are you going to wait until everybody's infected and then No, you basically, what you're going to have to do over the next few months is you're going to have to sort of tough it through if you're these teams, and, maybe have taxi squads that allows you to have extra players to play at a moment's notice. It's just the reality. I mean, unfortunately, what I said in March of 2020 and what I've been saying, for almost 2 years is true. And it's not that I'm saying that with any kind of glee. Everybody's going to get this. Unfortunately, everybody's going to get it. And now with this current strain, it is so transmissible that everybody's going to get it. But right now, the optimistic thing is, and the doctor who was on Hockey Night in Canada said this, it is mild enough. It is so mild that it might be suffocating out the more deadly versions of the COVID virus, and that might be in the end the best news, because then all it is you're asymptomatic or you have a common cold, then that's not a bad thing. I mean, right now you have a common cold, Norman. It is a bad thing, but if it's just that, then we can maybe survive this and get through it.
Yeah, there's going to come a time where someone's going to be feeling like crap, and it'll be COVID. They won't play. Everyone else will. I mean, down the line, this is something I believe we're going to have to just contend with, like anything else. Mike, from community, Leafs Convo poll put up last night, 84 votes. Should the NHL shut down for a period of time? 39% of the OGs and converts who voted say yes. 50% say no. 11% don't even want us to go there. There is a thought that NHL athletes are among the most elite professional athletes out there. Everybody's been double vaxxed. Why stop anything? Why worry about anything? And I guess, I mean, in theory, you could put that to the test, but the scientists and doctors and leagues and operations business, the concern right now is, what is this Omicron variant all about, right? I mean, we've got a bit of a foundation in terms of how to how to handle COVID, how to deal with it. But these variants keep coming out,
Right.
and I can understand how people are exasperated by dealing with COVID, and then there's another layer and another layer, and then you get all these conspiracy theories as to what the F is going on. But I mean, in this early going, how can we handle this variant? And you mentioned, Mike, that perhaps we're going to be able to withstand this a little bit better based on being kind of vaccinated to the point where whatever does come at us, we'll be able to handle. And if you're an exceptional athlete who's running peak physical ability and capability, and being able to fend off any sort of issues, then you should be given the opportunity to pound through it. But hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and the one thing that is for sure is that nobody knows anything for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
In this current situation, and it's like, I heard people criticizing, Ontario for limiting 50% capacity, and it's sort of like a black or white situation. Either you have no fans in the stands, or let the fans, like all the fans, and Ontario is the only province or state in the U.S. that is now Montreal. And this is the funny thing. Here where the bread is buttered, so to speak. The Players Association was pissed off that Montreal played a game against Philadelphia, that game wasn't postponed, and that they played in front of no fans. Why? Because that was $2 million in revenue that game cost them. And instead of postponing it to a later date when they could have fans in the stands and they could have the money from those fans in the stands, they played a game in front of no fans, and there's no money. And that is a big motivator here. Is they were talking about hockey-related revenue and the cap going up in 23-24 or 24-25. I can't remember which, but if there are games lost, if they don't play 82 games, or if they're playing in front of half-filled stands, or if the border closes again, God forbid, and all of a sudden you have to switch to a Canadian division in the middle of the season, that is going to be a disaster for the NHL. So I get the feeling. Right, exactly. I get the feeling that at the absolute, I think they're going to tough through the next few days. Today's the 19th. The 23rd is the last day before the three-day Christmas break. I think they're going to tough through the next 3 or 4 days to get to the break, get through it, and then come back on the 27th. And then hopefully they can weather the storm a little bit, but I have to say, the Olympics are dead. And if they're not dead, players are irresponsible in going to the Olympics.
How the hell are you going to be able to slot in the Olympics when you may have 100 games that need to be made up in the schedule late winter, early spring, heading into a playoff that can go into midsummer or beyond, or who knows, right? If we just don't know. The Olympics, personally, who cares what I think? I'm not that interested in watching NHLers play at the Olympics any longer. I've gotten my fix. I don't care about it anymore, right? I want to see amateurs play for countries and represent their respective nations. I get more out of that personally than watching NHLers take spots of people who will never get a chance to play the NHL, but probably could have been Olympians otherwise. So that's a separate discussion. But with COVID and China and the interruption of the NHL schedule under normal circumstances, I'm just not that interested. OG's Converts, have your say in this chat, but also the post that hits YouTube. We'd like to see more comments below this content. Make sure to like this content, hit the bell icon for notifications as to when we will be putting out our next Leafs Convo. And above all else, why don't you subscribe to the Leafs Convo on YouTube? It is free, and you just know what kind of great content you're going to get, other than you will be getting plenty of great content. Mike, we don't want to go too long with this show. We do have a combo that we put out on Thursday. Guys, please get at that. We appreciate all of the listenership we can get. It's Leafs over Oilers, but Matthews over everyone, and defensive improvement ideas. Watch this, go through the complete catalog of Leafs Convo content, and we'd appreciate it if you do so. Mike, why don't you try to wrap it up for us?
Well, just on the Olympic point to wrap it up. Yeah, I mean, I love international hockey. I'll be watching the World Juniors.
Sure.
And I liked the Olympics in Vancouver and in Sochi.
Yeah.
2018 wasn't exactly the greatest because there were NHL players there. If all things being equal, if they could do that tournament separate from going to China, that would have been perfect. But I think the travel restrictions and the quarantine situations and everything, I think make it untenable for them to go. Now, bringing it back to the Leafs, and this will be the final point, it might be a very good thing that they don't go to the Olympics because, like I said, you could have as many as 7 or 8 Maple Leafs on various rosters, Matthews and Campbell and Nylander and Tavares and Marner and Riley, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to be traveling halfway across the world, playing, round robin and then medal rounds and high velocity hockey, not exactly getting rest. And then they're going to come back and play 32 games in the last 46 days, and then go into the playoffs. So do I think that it might be better for the Leafs and for some of the better teams in this league that the NHL doesn't go to the Olympics? These players can have a little break in the middle of February, get their games that have been postponed done. I think it'll be beneficial for the league. And I really hope, in spite of the fact that I like Olympic hockey, I hope they don't go.
See, here's the thing, Veets, Norm, I agree. Let the non-pros who perhaps may not make the NHL live a dream. Thanks, Veets, for that. But here's the thing. We watch the Olympics for amateurism. All these people we've never heard of reaching their dreams, winning. The United States in the Summer Olympics wins 1 million medals, and Canada wins a fraction of that. In the Winter Olympics, it's even. But it's all these people we've never heard of. These little engines that could, out of nowhere, becoming international stars overnight. Then all of a sudden, when it comes to hockey, we have to. Each nation has to be represented by professionals who really don't identify with all of these other athletes. I'd bring on the World Juniors. I'll watch the bloody Spengler Cup if I have a couple of beers in me and I'm watching and I'm like, oh, I remember him. He played. Simon Gamache, he played for the Leafs and all those years ago. Mike had his jersey. And then we have NHL. There's an NHL game that night. And then these cats out of this university hockey or NCAA or ex-pros playing in the Olympics for Canada. I'm interested in it. I'm not into hero worship, right? I'm 45 now. I'm past all that stuff. And if you are still young enough to, view athletes as your icons and the reason you get out of bed in the morning, that's fine. I was there, and you'll go through the process like I did. But I don't understand why hockey has to have professionals who make gazillions of dollars, be at the Olympics, have that to be fully complete and to make sense. Whereas skiing and shooting or whatever the hell, frisbee chase and downhill, car wrecks or whatever the hell else they have in the Olympics. Why all of those sports? It makes sense to be to watch amateurs and nobodies that we've never heard of compete for gold. But in hockey, it's completely different. Anyway, I'm kind of going off the rails here, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And if we want lots of hockey, I'd rather the NHL continue on and we, kind of deviate a little bit to, try something new with a whole set of, players that we don't typically identify with, but can in that moment of the Olympics. But that's neither here nor there. I think right now the Olympics makes no sense whatsoever in terms of NHLers competing, considering we're already backlogged. We're already delayed. We're dealing with a pandemic. And the most important thing right now, considering the way that the last 2 seasons have been interrupted or modified, is to get a full season completed with a full set of playoffs completed and a Stanley Cup champion awarded in a full season completed. Done.
Yeah, last word. The days of pure amateurism have been dead and buried for what, 30 years since the Dream Team. I mean, and it's not just basketball and it's not just hockey, because you see figure skaters and ice dancers who go out on tour and make significant money. That's professionalism. So I mean, they're allowed to participate in the Olympics. So basically, if the NHL doesn't go to the Olympics, it's going to be it'll be basically that roster that you're watching on the Spengler Cup, having a few beers with. They'll just be flying from Switzerland to Beijing, and playing for Canada and the U.S. So get prepared.
But the zenith for a lot of those other sports, like figure skating and speed skating, is the Olympics.
Yes, it is.
In hockey, an Olympic gold isn't why.
No, but
these kids are skating.
It's the zenith.
But it's not the pinnacle, Mike.
It was the pinnacle for Matt Sundin's career.
Well, it had to be.
Yeah, exactly. No more comments out of that one.
Yeah. Okay, guys. OG's Commerce, thank you so much for joining us. You know the drill. Any way you can support us, we appreciate it. Vote in community right now. Do you think that the NHL should be shut down for a period of time? Voting is open, and we'd love to hear from you. Mike and I are going to try to incorporate a midweek show here and there, and who knows, we may be back here in the next few days before Christmas with no hockey to talk about. But there will be something to discuss, because the Leafs Convo always finds something, right, Mike? Anyway, let's get on with the day. OG's Converse, thanks for your time, Mike. Have a good one.
Thanks, Norm.